Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 342, an intro to trust, the power of having complete confidence in the master. The podcast objectives are reveal the importance of celebrating our victories, provide a definition for trust, and reveal the primary objective of trust. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. Take some time to celebrate. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to Day 82 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we revealed how unlocking the power of hope empowers you to not only eliminate despair, but to also reign over this leading degree of lawlessness. For that reason, it's time for a celebration. To wit, we must celebrate your victory over despair. In doing so, you have eliminated the first of the 80 degrees of lawlessness. Congratulations. Take a bow. And yet, as important as it is to celebrate our victories and commemorate every milestone on this quest, we must remain focused. We must keep up the fight. Remember, by eliminating despair, we have only eliminated one of the fundamental degrees of lawlessness. Ergo, there are still 79 degrees of lawlessness we must eliminate if we are to obtain the seal of Elohim. You can see this by analyzing the 80 degrees of lawlessness. Here we have a visual of the 20 fundamental degrees of lawlessness, and despair is highlighted. This is the one you have eliminated, but there are 19 more degrees to eliminate. Here you have the 20 focal degrees of lawlessness, and these you have yet to eliminate. Here you have the 20 critical degrees of lawlessness, and these you have yet to eliminate. Last but not least, here are the 20 primary degrees of lawlessness, and these you have yet to eliminate. And thus, I encourage you to take some time to celebrate your victory over despair. And yet, I warn you not to become complacent. Rather, set your sight to the next battlefield. For now, we must deal with distrust, an even greater weapon the enemy has formed against us. Where we can put our trust. Now, as you very well know, distrust is the focal degree of doubt. And thus, the only way we can eliminate distrust is by unlocking the focal degree of faith. Enter trust. Quite naturally, and as it pertains to faith, trust picks up where hope leaves off. To wit, hope is the primary motivation which causes us to embark upon a path, while trust is the primary motivation which keeps us on said path. By definition, trust is assurance in the integrity and surety of a person or thing based upon knowledge. The equation is as thus: hope plus knowledge equals trust. Vis-a-vis, knowledge elevates our hope into trust, which provides us with a legit reason to stay on the path we have chosen. Simple enough. Classically, trust is the cornerstone of many institutions in our society. The most common of these is marriage. Individuals engage in marriage, trusting their vows will be kept for the full duration of the union. Now, in making this assessment, I would ask, how many marriages can survive and remain progressive apart from trust? The answer, not many, if any, could, for a loss of trust will always cause relationships to deteriorate, while the results are devastating and often irreparable. This speaks to the power of knowledge obtained via experience, for our experiences will clearly reveal who we can or cannot trust. At this juncture, you don't have to simply hope for the best. My dear friends, you will know what to expect. For everyone who has been in your life long enough has a track record, and thus you know who you can and cannot trust. As for the Most High Elohim, his track record is not only perfect, it is unmatched. Therefore, if the whole world should forsake you and you are abandoned by all your family and your so-called friends, I have good news for you. I come to give you hope. You don't need to cry about all those who have betrayed you, and you most certainly should not mope. For there is a safe place and secure where we can put our trust, a city of refuge where all the chosen elect are guarded, and Elohim is indeed with us. Trust is having complete confidence. Now, in accordance with the sum of these matters, the primary objective of trust is very straightforward. That is, to have complete confidence in the Father's will, a crucial objective due to the following reality, which I will offer as an inflection point. Even if we are being led by the set apart spirit, there will be junctures in our quest where we are unsure of the path before us, even though the path is correct. Naturally, this lack of confidence could transpire for various reasons. For example, we could have experienced setbacks due to our own miscalculations, and as a result, we are being plagued by a spirit of distrust. Or perhaps the way is dark, and we are experiencing considerable measures of fear, which is causing us to be influenced by despair. Trust me, spiritual darkness can be very intimidating, even for the most ardent believers. Whatever the situation may be, we must trust the Spirit and his ability to lead us into the Father's will. Otherwise, we will find ourselves standing still or looking around. And this will eventually cause us to turn around. In doing so, we will compound an already delicate situation. Trust me, any situation where distrust is in play is by default extremely delicate. Consider the following inflection point, and you will see why. Turning around is one of the worst things we could ever do on this quest, for this act will cause us to lose sight of where the Father is leading us. Not only this, but as the forces pushing and pulling us back are greater than our spiritual acceleration at this early juncture in our quest, turning back will cause us to begin losing ground and at an alarming rate. This is contingent to the spiritual reality that we can only confidently move in the direction we are facing, and we descend much faster than we are able to ascend. For that reason, you really only have one option. To wit, there is only one path that ends well. It may not be the path most traveled, and it may not be the one that is the most attractive, at least not at first glance. And yet, because it is the path defined by trust, staying on this path is a must. And thus, I advise you to hear what the word of Elohim has to say concerning these matters. Psalm 9, 9 through 10 is revealing. Yahuwah is a refuge for the crushed one, a refuge in times of distress. And those who know your name trust in you, for you have not forsaken those who seek you, O Yahuwah. Psalm 37, 3 through 6 reads, trust in Yahuwah and do good. Dwell in the earth and feed on steadfastness, and delight yourself in Yahuwah, and let him give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to Yahuwah and trust in him, and he does it. And he shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your right ruling as midday. Psalm 37, 37 through 40 is revealing. Watch the perfect man and observe the upright, for the latter end of each is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The latter end of the wrong shall be cut off. But the deliverance of the righteous is from Yahuwah, their strength in time of distress. And Yahuwah does help them and deliver them. He delivers them from the wrongdoers and save them because they took refuge in him. Brothers and sisters, I believe the stroke is now clear. Seeing as these are but a few of the precious promises he has given us, there is no reason why we should not have complete confidence in the Father and his will, to the point where we follow him always, regardless of the nature or the outcome of the command. And if you would receive it, this is the primary objective of trust. It is having complete confidence in the Father, even when you don't understand. Now, here is the final word. We can accomplish any feat if our trust in the Master is complete. This shouldn't be too hard to understand if you consider how trust is the focal degree of faith. To it, trust accounts for the vast majority of the lessons we must learn and master related to the level of faith. Along these lines, our faith in Yahuwah is primarily founded upon our willingness to trust him. Again, in every situation, regardless of the nature or the outcome of the command. Here lies the inflection. To wit, the tests associated with trust will often be administered in situations that don't look promising, and they will often appear to yield outcomes that don't reflect our interpretation of his will, and thus we don't understand. Here lies the inflection and the key. Vis-a-vis, when it comes to faith, it doesn't matter how well you understand Yahuwah's will. This is not what faith is about. Quite the contrary. Faith is about believing in the Father's will and trusting in him. not because you understand his will. More often than not, it's because you don't. For if you always have complete understanding of his will in every situation, then how can your faith be tested? How can your trust in him be confirmed? The short answer is it can't. And thus, Yahuwah has specifically inserted a knowledge gap in the equation of faith to separate those who will trust and obey from those who will walk the path of distrust and thus fall away. And this is the message he has given to us. The dust shall all return to dust, yet he shall spare the righteous just, for in his will we put our trust. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on all the lessons you have heard this week and ask the Father to give you clarity on anything you are struggling to receive. And if you are led, please feel free to reach out to me. You can fill out a form on our website and let us know what questions you have. And remember, the only question that can truly hurt you is the one you fail to ask. Last but not least, enjoy the upcoming Shabbat and the weekend, and be ready to get back at it next week as we continue to make our calling and election sure in pursuit of the precious and priceless seal of Elohim. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 342, an intro to trust. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 343, Your Victory Over Distrust, Part 1. I will post this podcast on Monday, September 23rd, 2024. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.